You know, we just did a successful Kickstarter, but I gotta say, there is one regret of a magic item that we didn't make.
I know where you're going with this, Ted. We never Mage Forged the Mage Forge, but it's never too late. Let's do it. Let's make a new D&D magic item, Mage Forge.
I'm Nerdarchy Ted.
I'm Nerdarchy Dave. Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds.
I guess we're gonna forge ahead on this video.
All right, so we actually did one of our RPG weekly topic talk videos over on the Nerdarchy live channel. And it was the Mage Forge, right? So we talked about the Kickstarter and making magic items in general and, you know, how magic items kind of have been in our games. And I believe it was Parks that said, but did you make the Mage Forge as a magic item? And sadly, we did not make the Mage Forge as a magic item yet, but it's never too late.
It is never too late to make yet another magic item. It's, you know, something that's near and dear to my heart. I love making magic items. There are many times that I just sit there and I'm like, oh, here's an interesting idea. Let me make that. Or let me, you know, jot down some ideas and I'll come back to it. And I actually, as you guys were doing that particular live stream, I was off camera, not listening, doing exactly that, where I was trying to figure out what is the Mage Forge. And the idea of, is it a location? Is it a singular, this is the forge, the hot, the hot stove? Is it just the anvil? What kind of thing? So what is the Mage Forge?
What is the Mage Forge? Now, by the time this video goes up, the Kickstarter will be already done. But you know what? I imagine we will be taking pre-orders over on the website, so I'll put a link to that down in the description. Also, one of the things we're going to do for this particular magic item, we're going to make it over on D&D Beyond so that you can actually take it, use it in your games, have it, and there will be a link to our homebrew over there in the description. But it's only fair to mention that D&D Beyond is a sponsor for this video. You should check them out and power up your games with D&D Beyond.
But if you're looking for another way that you want to help out the channel, to keep making videos like this, as well as all the awesome content over on nerdarchy.com, why not come check us out on Patreon and support us over there?
As a special reward, you will receive 5e content for DMs and players alike. Over there, we make magic items like the one we're about to make now, and sometimes turn them into print and play magic item cards, drop-in encounters for your games, feats, spells, races, subclasses, you name it, we're probably making it over there. Not only that, there's a chance to game with Nerdarchy by becoming one of our Patreons. You will find a link down in the description, also one of these cards up here, to a free download sampler. You can check it out and see the kind of stuff that we're making over there and see if you want to use it in your games.
So we're going to workshop, this concept right here and kind of figure this out. So first off, what is the item? What does it look like?
So the question is it a magic item or is it a plot device, right? So literally, if it's a plot device, that would be really hard for us to make over on D&D Beyond for you to make, but it could be, right? I kind of think about the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon where their magic items stop working and they have to take it to the special forge to get it powered up. And I am drawing a little bit of inspiration from there. That was an actual location and thing. And, I think it was every 100 years or every 1,000 years they had to power up their magic items. So it could very well be a plot device, or it could be an item, or it could be both.
All right, so the thing that I kind of came up with that I'm kind of pitching here is a long time ago, Nate, when he was with us, Nate the Nerdarch, he had this concept for a character who had a portable hole that he would throw up, and that would be his shop, and he would use all of his kind of crafting abilities.
I'm just picturing his character vomiting on the side of the road now.
That's not the direction I was going. He would put his portable hole up against a brick wall or a wall, and then he would work out of that shop, and everything in there was what he used to craft using fabricate and other spells to make items and to break items down so that he could be able to workshop things a lot faster. So I was kind of building off of that concept of, what if you have the forge? It's a magic item, but it's a location at the same time. And very similar to, a portable hole, like it condenses down into something that you could put into a pouch or, into a satchel without a problem and carry it. But once you open it up, similar to like a Darren's Instant Fortress, it is a room that has access to any kind of tool supply that is used for crafting, everything from alchemical to forging and everything in between. So it has all of the components that you need, whether it be beakers, but it doesn't come with any of the raw supplies, just the tools. And then whatever accoutrements you need there, you can kind of get to it. But there's the element of the magic element there as well, that it can be used to actually imbue magical properties. And, that's kind of where my thought pattern stopped.
Yeah, so I actually visually have like something in mind as well, right? It's more of a location than it is an item. It's not that it's not an item. It's like it's a room, and the room is an artifact, right?
Sure.
So I'm picturing the anvil. And how the forge often have like a big hood that kind of like directs the heat and everything. And, you got the big fire pit.
Sure.
Well, I'm imagining all of that as a big dwarf's head, complete with beard. And the anvil itself is like the tongue sticking out of the mouth.
Okay.
Of this, of this dwarf, right? This dwarf head. And that is that is the Mage Forge. Clearly, this thing is not going to be something you pick up and put in your pocket and carry around. You'd have to go find it and locate it. Maybe you can disassemble it and reassemble it someplace else. It might be a whole process. It may require magic just to even do that. And also this idea that the forge, when you initially find it, it is always sleeping. It requires a smith or a mage, or maybe a combination of both to reawaken it. Like, that might actually be one of the requirements. You must have proficiency in smithing tools, as well as have spell slots available to you in order to awaken the Mage Forge. Because many, to attune to it, and you have to attune to it to awaken it. And then from there, it's like, well, what can you do with it? What does it do? Like, in the DMG, pretty much all of the artifacts have specific things that they do because they are, but then they also have hindrances and minor and major abilities that are basically off of a menu that can be either random or picked. But, so it makes each time you introduce that artifact into your game slightly different than it was before. And some of them might also have like built-in disabilities or disadvantages in addition to those charts.
All right, I'm going to go totally off script here for a moment, because we've got two very different, divergent ideas. I'm throwing this as a curveball. So what do you think about, you making the Mage Forge by Nerdarchy Dave, and I make the Mage Forge by Nerdarchy Ted, and we put them both up?
We could absolutely do that. And then maybe we even do a poll afterwards. You guys can vote and see which one you like better. I feel like I'm making an artifact and you're probably making like a legendary or very rare magic item.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, like they both have distinct flavors, distinct uses. Anytime you add an artifact to the game, that is more like something that shapes a campaign and becomes more of a plot device as opposed to an item that you're going to use in the game, and it's just very useful.
Right. I mean, I could try to like step up the power level of mine so that they're both artifacts, but like that wasn't my initial concept. I like a lot of the imagery. I feel like the anvil as attached to the tongue has, kind of set me off as a little weird. I'd much rather have it be like, part of the beard that comes up and that becomes the anvil rather than like this weird, like the tongue comes out to the one side and the fire is cooked in the mouth. I don't know. It's maybe a little too demonish, devilish for my, dwarven taste.
Well, sometimes greed and avarice is attributed to dwarves, and
that is true.
They tend to dig too deep. So
that
who knows who actually made the Mage Forge and what depravity drove them to create this thing, or perhaps it was even a dwarf that was cursed.
That's true.
Maybe you're a kid and you're making faces and your mom's like, hey, you don't do that. Your face is gonna get stuck that way. Maybe that was a dwarf and their face got stuck that way, and it was like blown up into this giant artifact. I don't know.
Wow, that's a big stretch.
Yeah. But so, like, for the artifact version, definitely I think it should be around the idea of either crafting or harvesting magic items, right? So I do like the idea that perhaps Residium was a thing from 4th edition. It was one of the things I actually liked. And it was like, because it's like, how often do you find magic items and you can't do anything with them, but sell them? And it's like, oh, great, I get a pile of money. I wanted a cool thing instead. Well, in 4th edition, you could suck the magic out of items and then change them into something else. And then 3rd edition, they kind of introduced that with the Artificer, where they could take magic from one thing and use it in building something else, I believe. I could be wrong too. But like, I do like the idea of like, the Mage Forge allows you to extract the magic from an item and maybe use it to power something else. We do like alternate uses for spell slots, hit dice, and things of that nature. So maybe a sacrifice of spell slots and or hit dice is required to work on items. It's obviously not something that's going to happen very fast. Or maybe it makes items that are temporary, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you can make really powerful magic items, but they only last 10 days or 5 days or something, right? And then the magic fades and dissolves or whatever, and then you have to do it again. Matter of fact, it might be part of the disadvantage of this artifact that causes you to keep wanting to make them, and like you become addicted to creating magic items. But they always fade.
So I like everything that you've just kind of like discussed right there. The sucking out of the residuum, maybe just magical transference, and you could put a magical ability from one item directly into another, as long as like it's still within the confines. I know in the one game that you ran, you enhanced items through these gems or powers that we acquired throughout the game, and this one sword became utterly ridiculous. So like those kind of things could very well be attributed to a Mage Forge of like, all right, well, as opposed to me just ripping the gem out, well, I'm just going to break down this item, and the forge would hold the power, and you just slap up the next item and you forge the power that you've extracted into the item. And now, as opposed to it just being a +1 sword and a flame tongue, now you've got a +1 flame tongue, and voila. I know that doesn't exist in the raw, like flame tongue doesn't usually confer a magical bonus, but you can do those kinds of things at the Mage Forge.
So we've got option A. We've got option B. What about option C?
What is option C?
A forge that makes mages.
Oh my word.
So I got a couple ideas here, right? Like, one, it could literally be like a device, a magical device. Maybe it looks like a big like mold shaped like people. You stick them in it, and then it infuses them with magic and giving them magic powers and abilities. Or maybe it just creates whole new creatures or beings from nothing. Now, this is very much leaning into, I think, the plat device area and, a mystery in your game, or even like, you have the common folk in your world, right? And then you have these like mages and spellcasters, and they're revered for all their power. But someone comes along and they're like, hey, I can make you like them, and takes normal people and makes them empowered with, and it's almost like a superhero vibe, comic book vibe.
Sure, yeah, of course.
With like, with these powers and magical abilities, you could do it a couple ways. It could be kind of like monkey paw-ish in nature, or Faustavian in nature, where the bargains never really work out for the people that get them, or it's corrupting them, or they end up under the control of the person that's giving them the powers, and really it's this big plot and scheme. They're building a super army of mages from the commoners to overthrow the mageocracy or whoever's in charge. So it becomes part of the campaign.
Well, my immediate thought on this is there are a number of classes, spellcasters, that get access to magic that requires 0 training. So that's your sorcerers and your warlocks. And, perhaps,
Mage Forge is a warlock patron.
well, I mean, that could very well be a thing if we wanted to go that direction.
Yeah.
Option D.
Sorcerer origin.
so I was thinking more along the lines of like whatever this forge is. It's probably geared towards a specific patron, and or is fueled by whatever type of bloodline that you wish to extract. And if I'm going to go out and I'm going to get draconic blood and I'm going to infuse it into this device, insert a body, and now that person becomes a draconic bloodline sorcerer.
I'm picturing the machine from Captain America.
I was kind of going,
but instead of like the tubes going to the serum, they're like running off to the side and through a room to another big cavernous room where there's a sleeping dragon with all these tubes attached to it.
I was thinking along the same lines, but truth be told, I'm still a kid at heart. So I've got comically like the Play-Doh mold, like where you put the Play-Doh in, you squish it closed.
Well, that was my initial idea with the molds.
So as ridiculous as a concept of that is, that was my initial thought pattern of just like, okay, it closes like a door and squish, and out pops the sorcerer.
Well, but honestly, you can kind of combine those ideas with like what I was coming up with, and what you're coming up with, and going less comical, but like this evil person, they've captured a demon, they've captured a dragon, whatever, and they're essentially torturing and slowly killing this creature in order to infuse its power into mortals, right? And maybe the process is excruciating, it's torturous, it's it's a really slow, painful death, and to do it to something like really evil, then the players can interact with it, and they're like, well, they could be like, well, this creature's evil, so it deserves it, or they're gonna be like, well, this creature's evil and bad, but should good people be doing this bad thing, even for a good reason? And you can kind of bring up these like moral quandaries in your game.
I like that idea. I like the idea of perhaps it's painful on whoever you're applying the magical abilities to, but maybe there's a level of subservience that's built into the process, and that whoever is kind of pulling the switch, like, whether you want to talk about, it's the word I'm looking for, but like mental implanting, suggestions.
Dude,
of,
hear me out. So this evil entity, wizard, whatever, captures the demon, big bad pit fiend, whatever.
Sure.
Torturing it slowly, infusing these things, and then he's like, I will have control of them. But actually, there's a greater demon or devil that has arranged all of this unbeknownst to the wizard. They're actually a patsy, and they have no problem with sacrificing in the suffering of this particular demon,
Sure,
pit fiend, and really like they're going to end up being the uber boss that that even the other wizard didn't know about. So they kind of like, maybe they infected their minds with this idea for a plan or a plot, but it was never really theirs to begin with.
That's not bad. I mean, you could have a sorcerer, warlock, sorcerer, wizard, or wizard, warlock, what have you, that is the person that appears to be the one puppeting, but the real puppet master is the true mentor, the true one that's behind puppeting the puppet master. I think that could be an awesome, like, full on campaign right there. You start, fighting low level mages, sorcerer, warlock, wizard, not a big deal. They're going to be pushovers.
But not only that, like, you can make it even more interesting than that, because it could be people, like, I would start with like a normal campaign, introduce NPCs, and then later reintroduce those NPCs after this has happened to them. and they've actually changed, maybe physically, but definitely mentally and emotionally. They're not the same person. And then the players are going up against them going, wait a minute, this is Farmer Johnny. I rescued his pigs from the goblins. What is going on? He was a good person.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, it really pulls at the heartstrings and makes you decide, like, do I want to go down this direction? You know, am I willing to straight up kill somebody that used to be like a plot device, you know, was a good guy, and now they want to kill me?
Yeah, and then later you step it up and like offer them. Do you want to get in the machine and get a little more power, right? Like, and you get, you know, try and tempt them, and then so you can play with this in a lot of different directions. I think there's a lot of fun things we can do with it. We've gone way far from the magic items, but we did mention we want to talk about plot devices. We're going to make the magic items. You know, they're going to be anywhere from very rare to artifact. We'll see. We'll do 2 different versions. We'll put them in the description so you can check out. Maybe we'll put a poll up on the Nerdarchy channel so people can go and vote and be like, what was their favorite one? You know, or maybe they like the plot device even better, and we can maybe even turn that into like a Patreon reward, an encounter thing.
Sure.
That was one of those drop-in encounters we've mentioned before. Let us know what you think down in the description, or not in the description. We do the description. You don't do the description. Down in the comments below, weigh in, share your thoughts and ideas with the Nerdarchy community.
While you're down there, don't forget to do all those fun things like share, subscribe, and since we're talking about magic items, attune to that notification bell so you don't miss a single video.
Quick reminder, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we drop new videos here on the channel, so come on back. But you can't wait till then, no worries. There's a card up here. You can click it to check out a D&D magic item, the Glaive of Wizardry we made.
So until next time, stay nerdy.